Kwepside wen dlewe spigudwe ji plugin. Dujea o negutko kobnaki ko. Naga wulida hazi bemgiska kehude. Tønder Festival, Denmark. Yeah. So I just said in my language, you know, my name is Jeremy Dutcher. I come from Wabanaki territory, from the Wollostok people, in what is some people call the East Coast of Canada, and I'm very happy to be here at Tønder Festival in Denmark. What do I think of Tønder Festival? What a special place. Yeah. When people gather like this, you know, around music and around good food and around, you know, each other, it's really special, right? And when things have been going this long, there's this thing that's created that's bigger than all of us, or bigger than any one curator or person that's put it, or you know, it's like to see the scale of this place, to understand how much volunteer work goes into it and how much love and how much you know, people have been coming here their whole lives. It's incredible. And so yeah, it's a celebration. It's my first time here. I really hope it's not my last time, because this place is special. A music historian. Oh, I don't have a certificate for that, so don't come for my diploma. But you know, I guess I'm an amateur, you know, folklorist. I really fell in love with our traditional music from Wollostok Nation, and yeah, I was going around and asking a lot of questions to the elders and the people about, you know, how did the music change in your lifetime, and what did it sound like when you were a young person? Kind of doing this like amateur field work, you know, and going around and asking questions, and I got some really amazing answers, and I got to talk to some really special people, and there was one elder in particular, and her name is Maggie Paul, and she's a song carrier and a lodge keeper, a ceremony person back home, and she said, you know, if you want to know about the old songs, you can't even stay around here. Like like the old songs live at the museum. And I said, what do you mean? What do you mean the old songs live at the museum? I didn't know anything about that. And she said, yeah, there was in the early 1900s, this man from the university, he came and lived among our people for 7 years. And he collected songs and stories and photographs and even took some objects, and you know, there was this time when he lived among our people, and she said, all of that, it lives at the museum. And then she said, I want you to go there and bring it back. Come give it to the people. And so yeah, she kind of set me on this path, Maggie did, and you know, I went to Ottawa, the capital in Canada, and sat at the museum for a couple weeks, and I heard these songs. Like, I got to listen to the ancestors from over 100 years ago to kind of sing these melodies, and it changed my life, obviously. You know, I'm here, and I don't know, like, yeah, for what reason? And it's because they spoke to me, and I felt like I wanted to answer them. And so I created a record. And I figured, you know, besides me actually just going, you know, I didn't want to end up in jail. I couldn't just go and take them from the museum, even though I wanted to, because they don't belong there. They don't belong there. They belong in the community that they come from. And so past me actually going and physically taking them out, I thought, oh, what's a way that I can kind of metaphorically do that, or symbolically do that? And for me, it was like, well, make a record. You know, how do people access music? It's like they go on YouTube, or they go on Spotify, or they find their way to music on the internet. And so make a really accessible version of these songs that people can really take in. And yeah, and so I started writing an album, kind of out of the blue. Like, it was not part of what I thought I was doing, but it slowly kind of turned into something. That ended up being Wollostok Lintuagnawa, which is my first record. The record was received, I think, in like a way that I could have never imagined. Because I did it, the goal or my reason for creating it was so specific, was to go in to kind of share these songs with the people, but like my people, like it was quite directed towards my community, and you know, I'm singing all in our language, and there's no translations, and it's like, that's for you, my people. And yet all of these other people kind of gathered around it, right? Like, I think particularly because I was releasing it, you know, in this year when the country, like Canada, was really talking about you know, truth and reconciliation and grappling with this history that we all share around Indigenous displacement and Indigenous assimilation politics. And so we were really grappling with that. And then came this record of like Indigenous language, and I think it had a much wider impact than I expected, you know. So we won the Polaris Music Prize in the first year, and then the Juno the next year, and yeah, I got to tour the world a couple times. Like, it was pretty fun, you know. I was really happy with how that was received. But to be honest, like the most important receiving of that whole record was by the people from home, right? Like, was by the elders. Like, so when I get to go and I get to play, you know, in the East Coast of Canada, this for me is like, there's no better place, because that's where it belongs. That's the whole reason for the project, right? Was to take those songs and give them to the people that it belongs to. And when I get to do that, this is the best version of what I do. As much as I love to come to Tønder, as much as I love to, you know, share our philosophies and our ways of thinking and singing with everyone, I do it for a reason too. So for me, it's a tension, but also kind of a beautiful one. Like, when they received it, how did it make me feel? Hopeful, I guess. Or like it was us, the young people, telling them it's gonna be okay. Like, you carried it as far as you could, and you gave it to us, and now we're gonna take it and do something with it. And it might not sound like what it sounded like before. You know, there might be a piano and some like drums on it. You know, we're gonna reinterpret it today, but it is following that seed of what was planted by them. And so I guess for me, it makes me grateful to come from the place that I come from and be connected to the place that I come from, because this is not everyone's story. Like, there's a lot of young Indigenous people all over the world, but certainly in Canada, where there's a feeling of disconnection, through no fault of their own, through processes of colonization and through processes of assimilation and everything that's gone on. But I think we're in a moment now where we're all coming home. We're all coming home to like a better understanding of where we come from and the ways that are like truly of us. And this is like, you know, yeah, it's a really nice time, you know. And I think just sending word from that and sending field notes from the nice time that we're all having, I think is, yeah, kind of what we're here to do, and to share that with each other and lift each other up. So, yeah, when it gets received in that way, it feels so good. Of course, this is why I do it, is to share. And you know, when I have young Indigenous people come to that show, you know, and they say, you know, hearing you sing in your language makes me want to, you know, go and learn my language. Or the way that you sat with your elders makes me want to go and sit with my elders. It's like, yes. That's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to create something and shine a light so that they can see it, and really just be a mirror to say, hey, look how beautiful you are, you know? And then, hopefully there's some collective healing after that. Because we got to get well first. Like, we got to heal ourselves and then shine. And I think as Indigenous people, it's like we always haven't been given that opportunity, and people haven't believed our shine. But it's like we're in a moment right now where it's so evident. It's so evident. Like, you look at the most interesting music and literature and movies that are coming out of Canada or even America right now, it's like Indigenous voices are at the center of that. You know, so I'm encouraged by this moment, and I think as a global community, when we haven't been listening to all voices, what do we miss out? You know, how is that? You know, how do we strengthen our story as a globe by bringing more and more into that conversation? And I think that's what's powerful about festivals. when we can have that moment of collectivity and come together as different peoples from every walk of life, and come together and witness something together. Like we're having collective experience. And that's healing, right? When we can have that shared experience, even though we're different, we become like one, just for that like moment. Yeah, as somebody who, works with my culture and with, my language and our songs and, the way of dress that we have, all of these things, it's always so interesting to bring it to somewhere that really has no reference point for who we are, right? Like here on the continent, they don't necessarily have an understanding of who Native people are. And it's through no fault of their own, right? Like it's proximity, and it's also like the bad media that has come through, cowboys and Indians and, the entire like American media complex that has sought to clear Native people out of, sorry, we're getting into like a TED Talk now, but I think we really need to look honestly at the representations that have been, the stories we've been telling about each other. We need to look at that right now, because it hasn't always been kind and it hasn't always been fair, and there's a lot of power dynamics at play, right? So I think there's a real opportunity right now through many reasons, but I think the social age that we are all talking to each other now and we're all connected, that presents an opportunity in which large conversations can be had about big things, and it's destabilizing as well, but ultimately it's going to find equilibrium. And when we do, it's like, then we can actually get to know each other, because for a lot of human history, we've been doing this back and forth and not caring for each other in the ways that we know we need to. You must understand, though, this is my total experience all the time. Even in Canada, where I'm from, often I'm not singing to people that understand my language, right? We have less than 500 speakers left of our dialect. So it's very rare that I actually get to sing for people that have a real understanding of what I'm saying. And so I guess because I studied as an opera singer in school, I guess that gave me kind of permission to be like, we don't go to the opera and sit there and read every single line. We go and are moved by the power of music, So let that be okay. Don't get in the way of that. Express how you need to, and people are going to find it. And they're going to be moved and they're going to feel something because you're not putting anything in the way of it, right? So for me, it's like to sing in that way and to not have people understand it, that's okay. Because even if they're not understanding it here, maybe they're understanding it here, or maybe they understand it in their body, or maybe they, and I try to always speak to the fact that we all have ancestors. I'm doing something connected to my past and, but it's not a history project either. Like it's also a living project of like acknowledging magic and acknowledging ancestry and the fact that we are lifted up and supported by everyone that went before, and also the ones that are coming up too. Like the ones that are not even born and that we haven't even met yet. And this is why, in my mind, indigenous ways of understanding are going to change the world. Is because when we start to have that long-term time think, right? We're not worried about this. No clock on this wrist. When we start to push all of that aside and think about time much bigger, we have this idea that we don't make our decisions for us, we make them for the 7 generations ahead, How would that change? How would that be a complete revolution if we structured a society in this way, where we didn't make a decision based on our enrichment or our power, or even the power of our young ones, or the ones we will never meet, because we'll never meet a 7th generation. That's too far. But we have to keep them in mind always. When I looked into the archival recordings, there were over 100 you know, wax cylinder recordings. So this is like proto record technology. Before we recorded on that, we recorded on wax, which was like, and it was just a cylinder, kind of like a hollow, and it would etch onto the wax the sound wave, and then you could read it back, and it was the first recorded sound technology. And these just happened to be among my ancestors. So once I started to listen to these wax cylinders and got familiar with them, because there's over 100, and maybe about 50 of them, over 50 of them were about the water. And it makes sense, right? Because who we are as Indigenous people, specifically my nation as Wolastoq people, that means that we call ourselves Wolastoqiyik. It's the people of the beautiful river. Wolastoq is the river, we are Wolastoqiyik. So it's like we are the river. So it's very, very important to us. And it made so much sense that our songs were so interconnected with that. It was like, it kind of just like blew my mind, but it was like, of course, you know, of course we're always singing about the river. But something I love too about what you found in those songs was like, all the songs are connected to an act. You know, it's all verb-based. You know, this is we don't sing a song just to sing a song, or it's not entertainment, right? Like we sing a song, we sing the berry picking song when we go berry picking. We're singing the canoe song as we go down the river on the canoe. Like it's always connected to our life. And I think that's a really, really important and beautiful, and kind of something we've lost as well, right? Like when we commodify songs, when we make songs about how much I have, or like, you know, trying to sell them, or like using them in commercial, it's like, it loses the magic and kind of the point. Or maybe, yeah, or maybe there's many different points to music, and maybe that's just one of them, and I'm gonna be as far away from that as possible. I'll be over here using it as healing and, you know, trying to bring forward good messages to the world, you know.